Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Coach's Corner University podcast. I'm your host, Paul O'Neid, and today I am joined by someone who I've known for a very long time and only met in person for the first time at the Arnold this year, Joe Sullivan. I feel like I should have a better intro for you, but
I don't know. I'm sure we'll get there by the end of the podcast. But
fair
eh,
enough.
eh, so I'll make my own intro
Yeah,
because
please make
this
my job
is
easier.
no, you made my job easier because funnily enough or coincidentally enough or whatever, for having known you for this length of time and like
Mhm.
known of you and been like internet friends and
Yeah,
acquaintances for like however long. This is actually the first time I think that I've ever heard or at least paid attention to enough your last name said out loud. So thank you for finally telling me how to pronounce that correctly. I appreciate that.
you're welcome. You're welcome. It's
I honestly had no idea. I literally right before the podcast, I was like, I got this podcast with Paul Oneed or something because I have no idea, but I appreciate that.
no
So
problem.
we're on that level now. So cool.
Perfect. You know my last name. Um, So I find it hard to believe that people who are listening to the podcast won't know who you are. So we'll kind of save the whole origin story thing. But I do want to talk a little bit about your progression as a coach over the last few years, because it seems to have, for anyone who hasn't been following, it's almost like, oh, Joe's exploded onto the scene. But for anyone who's been along for the journey, you've been doing this for a really long time. You've been chipping away. And now it's like all of a sudden there are just more people who are aware of what you're doing.
Mhm.
What do you think was I'm thinking back and I'm thinking, okay, well, obviously he's an all-time world record holder, multiple time world record holder. Obviously, there had been some life shifts where you moved across the country to Las Vegas. There's been a lot of shifts and pivotal events. What do you
Mhm.
think has been the biggest catalyst for you over the last few years?
That's a great question. Just because I probably have multiple answers to that question because of the amount of life shifts that I've experienced and the different things that I don't want to say like gone through, but just had happen and have made happen in my life because for the people that don't know me or haven't followed me extensively, because I know that I've gotten a lot of, I don't want to say like notoriety or like I've been noticed more of it. Things have been moving very quickly recently.
Yeah.
Um, in 2018, I had a similar experience where I went viral because I had that barbell bend on my back,
Oh
and
yeah.
that video went nuts. It was on MTV Ridiculousness, that TV show. It was on like Japanese television.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got just a bunch of stuff happened from that. Like it was one of the first viral videos. I think at this point the original YouTube video has like over 15 million views, which is ridiculous.
Fuck.
It's insane. But when that happened, it's not so much about the video. Like people saw that and were like, "Oh, haha, funny dude, almost killed himself, whatever." But I herniated my C6 and C7 discs in my neck because the barbell, it didn't bend like a Duffalo or a Buffalo bar. It bent
Hmm.
to a point, and it
Right.
kind of put pinpoint pressure on my neck and my spine, and it caused a ultimately a nerve compression injury that affected my left upper extremity, like basically like every muscle that was innervated by the dorsal scapular nerve,
Hmm.
which is tricep, lat, pec. They all atrophied entirely for about like a year. Where I went from being able to bench press. This is when my bench was the strongest at 575 pounds in the gym, 545 on the platform. And
Hmm.
as a 220, that's like that. I,
It's
I was
huge.
I was aiming for the 220-pound all-time world record at that point. But I went from being able to bench press like high 500s to not being able to lock out 225 or do a push up without my scapula winging. And I essentially lost all the upper extremity control I could have managed to have. But after that, I continued to like just work and try to analyze and become better. And a huge reason that I have got experience like this kind of exponential growth in terms of my own athleticism and my ability to coach and my ability to like solve problems is I genuinely believe is because I spent so many years trying to solve that problem and like allocated energy towards trial and error, like, will this help? No. Will this help? No. Will this avenue, modality, whatever? How I had to, I went down so many rabbit holes when it comes to talking about like whether it's like biomechanics, whether it's like the nervous system, getting so far as like the vestibular system and like the motor cortex and like the communication between various aspects of the motor cortex, and then the biochemical underpinnings where it's like you don't think about the androgens that you're on potentially inhibiting the adaptations that you want to remake that you
Mm-hmm.
want to make to rebuild like neural plastic connections
Mm-hmm.
and relearn how to do something. So I just had to like meet a million different people. I had to uh, learn from a million different people. And ultimately, I ended up with Jake Benson in my corner, who's like my most recent mentor. And I actually just put a story up because I did my little rest day Q&A. And people were like, "What have you done? What has changed for you since you started working for Jake or working with Jake, not for Jake?" But I can't even, I like everything that entails this exponential growth. A huge catalyst for that would be me communicating and learning from Jake, because I call that guy, he's really the kind of the master puzzle maker, because he's very, very skilled at seeing the interconnectivity between every different aspect of the human body, and anything involving like manipulations or adaptations of the human body, and putting a plan in place to fix it. Because with Jake's help, since the end of 2020, I have like after a 7-year drought of not being able to hit a total PR, the last competition I did, I hit a 62-pound total PR as an already elite power lifter, and that's
Mm-hmm.
substantial.
That's huge.
I've added, I broke the initial all-time world record squat at 220 at 822 pounds, and it's now 851 pounds. That's insane. Like I don't want it to sound conceited, but it's like it's pretty remarkable to experience that growth as an elite athlete. And
Mm-hmm.
biggest catalytic event would probably be meeting and communicating with Jake and seeing how he puts the puzzle pieces together, being able to apply that to my own lifting, but then being able to like take a step back and, like we spoke about at the Arnold, look not just through our one singular lens,
Mm-hmm.
but look this avenue, this avenue, this avenue, this avenue, and then apply that to my own athletes. And you can see that in the success that those guys are having right now, because we're, like you said, I don't know if it was before the call or after
Yeah, it was
or
before. Yeah.
yeah, but we're going to see one another at the Ghost Clash, and I know your lifters are going to do amazing, and I'm anticipating my guys to fucking blow the roof off.
Yeah.
So it's just it seems overnight when you look at it, and it's like
But
holy shit.
it's 6 years, right? 6 years
Exactly.
since
And
2018.
it's the same thing that you talk about in your like in your like business posts. It's laying these foundational aspects and like setting yourself up, like not like everything in life. This is so quippy. I hate that I just speak in quips
Okay,
and
do
like,
it.
but it's like everything in life is a leap of faith. Of
True.
course, it's all about jumping for something and taking that risk and doing it. But even though everything in life is a leap of faith, if you have an opportunity to build a platform or build a better foundation to take that leap of faith from, you'd be fucking stupid not to. And it's the like business, athletics,
Yeah.
uh, coaching, mentorship, whatever. Like lay the foundations, and the better foundation that you have, the more upward mobility you are going to have the potential to achieve. So
There's a lot to pull from that. And I'm finding myself being reminded of a quote, actually from my mom, which is funny enough. My mom's a really cool person.
yeah.
Actually, her podcast that she did with me. So I did a podcast with my mom.
That's dude, that's so cool because like I've always talked about getting my dad on a podcast and just like bullshit. I
Dude,
love
do
that. That's
it
awesome.
because
Yeah,
to this day, that has the most views of any podcast I've done. And I've done podcasts with Ed Cohn, Dave Tate, like, and my mom, Susan O'Need, has the most downloads.
that's awesome, dude. I love that so much.
Um, Her quote to me was, and it was during a very challenging time in my life, and I was getting ready to take one of those leaps of faith. And she said, if there's anyone in the world you should be able to bet on, it's yourself. And those words will always stick with me. And the reason I'm reminded of those now is that throughout this process, and I've gone through surgeries, I've gone through muscle tears, I've gone through, injuries that took me away from lifting. I'm recently like I had to be out of powerlifting for 2 years because of an injury.
Mm.
And throughout that time, it's that adversity that either I could have easily quit and no one would have given a shit. I have been good in the past, I've achieved what I'm going to achieve. I've done what I've done. I could have stepped away, but I had to bet on myself. I had to take that leap of faith. And instead I used that opportunity to learn and to expand my toolbox. So there's that element. There's the element of you turn that adversity into an opportunity to serve others. And that's something that I preach very often is whenever you are struggling yourself, if you pour into the cups of other people, you will get that back always. And then the last piece, and probably the most impactful piece through all of that, is you weren't afraid to ask for help and expand your toolbox. That level of humility is something that I think a lot of people are maybe scared to exhibit.
Mhm.
What, like, obviously, I know you're a stubborn motherfucker, but aside from that, there had to be some level of like, I know when you get injured, you're like, fuck, I'm injured. But almost like there has to be an element of excitement. It's like, oh, there's another mountain to climb.
Absolutely, dude. And that's like, and don't get me wrong, because with the injury, with this being such a unique injury, because like nerve damage or like nerve
Yeah.
compression or whatever, it's such a stubborn thing to come back from. And it was so finicky for the longest of times. I went through like a serious, not, I wouldn't even call it depression. It's like I've always dealt with depression in my life.
Mhm.
Like I'm a moody white guy, like every other white guy in his 30s. But it was just like I had to reframe how I looked at myself, because previous to that point I was Joe Sullivan powerlifter. Joe Sullivan
Mhm.
powerlifter. It's like I literally remember seeing Dan Green powerlifter in like Men's Health in 2012, and he had that handle, and I'm like, I'm Joe Sullivan powerlifter. Like that's my fucking thing. That's it, and that's who I was. And experiencing the injury, I had to kind of like not release my connection to powerlifting, but understand that powerlifting was not me. I am Joe Sullivan, independent of powerlifting,
That's
and
powerful, man.
yeah, I am a powerlifter. But even if I don't do the best that I can one day in the future. Like if I didn't PR my total, or if I didn't break a squat world record, or if I never break a squat world record again, because I'm dealing with like chronic back injury. It's just a literal pain in the ass. But it's an ongoing conversation that I need to have with myself and anybody who's listening, you yourself, like anybody. It will be a thing that you have to talk to yourself about at some point, is understanding that the things that you do aren't you. You're not, we all like to say like, oh, don't be your words, be your actions. It's beyond that.
Hmm.
You're not just your actions, you're not just the things that you do, you're not just the things that you accomplish. You are the culmination of experiences that you receive going through those actions and those activities, and then how you give that to others is who you are. Like my another, like we're just going to go back quotes back and forth, but
Please.
one of the biggest learning moments, or one of the most substantial things that I got from one of my like familial mentors in my life, was my papa, my grandfather. He was a World War II vet. He was a Marine. He was in the Solomon Islands, like was the like my guy, like my
Hmm.
I got to go into the origin story, but my parents struggled financially very much. I essentially was raised by my nana and my papa, my
Okay.
dad's parents. And not raised like, I love my parents, great relationship, but it was just
Yeah,
like housing situations were all messed up, and my
for
mom was
sure.
super sick. But he was always the guy that I looked to, in as to like, he is the epitome of what I would imagine someone would call a leader. And he passed away in 2019,
Mhm.
2019. So it was in the midst of me dealing with this nerve injury. And I apologize if I get emotional because I am a soft man, and I may
Same.
cry retelling the story. But when he passed away, he was in Florida, and the whole family flew down there. And I remember he was kind of like blinking back and forth because the man was 94. He was very, very old, like just had lived a very long and fruitful life. But he was having moments where he was like becoming like coherent and being able to have conversations, and then other moments where he was just out of it. But during one of those moments where he was there and able to like talk with me, we were having a conversation about how I was going to remember it. And it's not a direct quote, but the point of that conversation and the thing that he made a point to talk to me about was that we experience two deaths when we die. We pass away twice. We die twice. And I'm sure some people have heard this rhetoric before. Uh, but the first death is when your physical body passes away, when your being dies. You cease to exist in the capacity of what we deem consciousness currently.
Hmm.
The second death is when the memory of you fades, when the last time you speak or the last time someone speaks your name or recalls a way that you made them feel, or even something that you did, like something that you achieved, whether it's due to you etching a piece of yourself into the history books or you etching a piece of yourself into someone else. That's your second death. And the goal of anyone's life should be damn should be I'm just it kills me every
This is
time,
great,
man.
man.
I know, but the purpose of everyone's life should be to put off that second death as long as you can, because you can die the first time knowing that if you put that second death off as long as you can, that you have left an impact, you've left a real legacy, and you've changed the world, because you may have changed one person, and that one person, that's their whole world. So the
Mhm.
longer you can put off that second death, the better life you'll have, and the better life you'll leave behind. So that's really like during that time, and like during those moments where I was having those conversations with him, it really kind of like you really learn what's important when you see someone you love die, and not just see them die but experience the death, because he didn't die right away when he got sick the last time. He spent a couple of weeks in the hospital. And when you see and literally like as sad as I was and as sad as I am that I have to miss him, I'm honestly really incredibly grateful for those like 2 weeks in Florida, because that really changed the way that I look at things, and the way, or like the reason that I genuinely believe that I was put here. Because it's like I wasn't put here. I don't believe I was put here to break squat world records. I don't believe that I was put here to PR my total. I don't believe I was put here to win powerlifting competitions. You can be goddamn sure that I want to, and I
Yeah.
think that's a part of it. But the reason that I was put here is to serve others and help people in using the skills and values that I have, and I know I'm certain that you feel the same way.
Yeah,
However,
for sure.
but yeah, that was really like that conversation really opened my eyes as to like what the important part of this whole thing is. And it made it so much easier, like understanding that, to humble myself and realize that I'm not the main guy here. I'm not the main character. I might be at certain moments, but I'm making this better for someone who comes after. And the only way that I can do that is to learn and grow and then apply and overcome this stuff. The coaching business name is the Adapt or Die Collective for a reason. It's not just me adapting and overcoming my obstacle. It's the collective. It's the unity amongst individuals coming
Mhm.
together for the good of themselves and the good of the whole. It's the entire thing behind a rising tide raises all ships. The tide is rising if we rise with it. So that's the thing.
Well, I can say that like you're through your own path, you're almost ensuring the fact that your grandfather can live forever.
And that killed me, man. I know. And that's I'm really, really fortunate to be able to do that. And I'm really fortunate to be able to, like, honestly, thank you for saying that, because like that's exactly my goal. And that, like, yeah, that got me, buddy.
Well, listen, I mean, I believe that I started meditating on death a long time ago. Like I got involved with, learning about stoicism and a lot of the principles espoused by that school of thought and kind of took that a bit further. And I think once we admit that there's a lot of things in our lives that we cannot control, gives us a lot more opportunity to have action towards that which we can control. That level of acceptance over life. But I also truly believe that, the highest purpose of life, like if you whittle it down all the way to the bare bones of what we're here on earth to do, it's serve. And the highest level of service is to serve other people's highest purpose. So if you are helping other people achieve their highest level as people, then I think you're doing your job. And if you do it well, you will live forever. And that level of impact is something that I strive to have with all the things that I do. Um, and it is a very, I will say this, it is a selfish pursuit because I fucking love it. So that's the dichotomy of it, right? It's a pursuit of service, but that pursuit is a selfish one because I enjoy every minute of it. And so
Yep.
it's a thought experiment I kind of play with myself all the time. But I want to bring it back to identity because it's something that I was in a very similar position to you at one point, ranked in the top 10 all time. I was like, I'm going to be the fucking best. And I was doing everything that I could to be the fucking best. And at one point, I just like injury after injury after injury. I was just like, this last time the conversation was around, I got in this thing to be as strong as I could possibly be. Did I do that?
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I started asking that question, I was like, if I did, am I okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
And turns out I'm not, which is why I'm going to still keep doing what I'm doing. But at some point, I will be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only okay with that because my identity is not powerlifting. And I think it's something that a lot of young lifters need to learn. And the sooner they do learn, I think the sooner they'll make some really incredible progress.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you because this is something that for me I found extremely fruitful. Haven't really had the opportunity to ask anyone, at that upper echelon of the sport. I have found that as powerlifting has stopped being the first thing that I think about, or training in general, as being the first thing I think about, and is more so just like software running in the background,
Mm-hmm.
that I've been able to just really enjoy every minute of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be like you're nodding your head. I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm in the right vein here.
I share that sentiment exactly, dude. Because honestly, like, I could tell you back in when I had my overnight success meet, which was like the 2017 US Open, where I've been competing since 2007, but like that was a meet where I
Same.
did really, really well. And were you 2007? Were you
Mm,
this?
2010.
Okay, cool. So either way, I was just curious because it'd be funny because Micah Marino has also been competing for 2000 since 2007. So it'd be weird we're all the same year, but either way, I had that like big meet, and at that time I was Joe Sullivan powerlifter. I lived and breathed and shit and bled and cried powerlifting. Like that's all it was. That's all I cared about. And obviously I'm still in the midst of these selfish pursuits that I pursue because I'm here like I look at it the same way. I'm here to serve people, but I'm also here to do my best in my own physical
Mhm.
capacity.
Oh yeah.
But but if you loosen the grip on the rope that you're holding on to just a little bit, you might find it's a little bit easier to hold on to that rope.
Bro,
And
just
that's
eat your fucking meals, get your sleep, and go train.
and that's exactly like that's what I was getting at in a long-winded way that I fucking do. It's like when you get to a point where it's automatic,
Yeah.
where it's like routine and it's literally just what you do, doesn't that mean that it is more of a part of you? Because I can't imagine my life without training, eating well, recovering well. I wouldn't feel like me if I were to live that life. So shouldn't that tell you I'm now it's like I'm even more Joe Sullivan power lifter. It's made it easier. It's made it easier to not only partake in the activity, but also find the enjoyment again. Because I talk to peers of mine and like guys that I know, see coached by others that talk about some of the stuff that they do or have to do as if they fucking hate it. It's like, oh my God, I got this meet coming up,
Oh wow.
stretch.
Let's go
Oh,
down this rabbit hole, brother.
yeah.
Bro, if you no one has a gun to your head. No one is forcing you to go train. No one's oh man, I got a 5x5 today. Like you fucking programmed it.
Yeah.
Like
Yep. I literally, and this is part, this is like part of what coaching is, because like having these conversations with people and being like, no, understand, like kind of reframe the attitude a little bit.
yeah.
Because I had this conversation with a client of mine, and like honestly, Bree chimed in because she just helped me illuminate or add a little bit of an illumination to the situation, because the person was like, oh my God, I can't believe that I have to do these like Boris deadlifts, which is like that
Yeah.
half pull, one full repetition. And they were just talking about like, oh, they're dreading it. Oh my God, I can't believe I have to do this. And it's literally like, dude, you're training to get better. This is a thing that will make you better. I understand that it's difficult. I understand that it's hard. But if you truly don't want to do it, just fucking don't do it. Just walk out of the gym. Because it's like if you want to get better, if you want C, the letter C over here, but you're not willing to A and B, then you don't actually want that thing. And that's fine. Go fucking train, go do whatever you want. But like don't lie to yourself. It's more the individual understanding what they actually want out of this, or not what they want out of this, but what they're willing to give to it in order to get the thing that they want.
So I've been kind of diving into a rabbit hole. I don't know anything about the guy aside from like that he used to be a club promoter, but I've been diving into like Chris Williamson stuff a little bit. Very fascinating writing style, and I actually really like the way he communicates. He put out something in one of his newsletters. Um, you have to want it, but you also have to want the things that you want,
Mhm.
right? So I think a lot of people want things, but I don't think that they actually truly want the things that they want. It's like, I
Mhm.
want a bigger total. It's like, cool, why?
Mhm.
Oh, because I want to be famous on Instagram. Like, yeah, you're probably not going to get there.
Mhm.
But if you want a bigger total because the path to a bigger total leads to personal development, well, now
Mhm.
you really want the thing that you want because the thing
Mhm.
that you want is personal development. And that's like I posted a reel today about when we talk to clients initially and they tell us what their goals are. And it's never the goal. The goal is never the goal. If someone says, I want to lose 20 pounds, it's not because they want to lose 20 pounds. It's because they want to look better naked because they feel like their spouse isn't attracted to them. Or they want to increase their powerlifting total because they want the approval of their peers because they have low self-esteem. Right? It's never the goal is never the goal. And it's our job as coaches to kind of figure out what the actual motivator is, what the incentive structure is. And then we can leverage that in those times of, I don't want to do Boris deadlifts. And I'm not going to sit here and say, Boris deadlifts are the only way to build your deadlift. But if I think that's the best tool for you, that's the recommendation I'm going to make. And that's what I'm going to program. I'm a bit flexible. If someone says, I don't want to do this, or, oh, fuck, I really don't like doing this, they're probably not going to put their full effort. And if they're not going to put their full effort, they're not going to benefit from it. So I'll bend a little bit and I'll pick something different. I'll do that once.
Yep. Yep. And that's exactly it. It's being willing to have those conversations and being willing to not only have those conversations, but understand not only understand, but be able to communicate and comprehend between you and the client and understand what their goal is. And then,
Mm.
like you said, leverage it, but understand on top of it. And I just said understand like 70 times, that even even if you do or can leverage it, it's not always, sometimes it's not worth it to the individual. It's not worth the headache. It's not worth like getting them to shift their entire perspective because it doesn't happen overnight. Like we just said, you've been competing since 2010. I've been competing since 2007. I had a 2,121 pound total in 2017. It's 2024 now. I am a different human being. I have
Mhm.
changed and grown to the capacity that I couldn't even comprehend if I was given like a future scope back in 2015. We we have to understand and be able to expect more from people. We have to be able to expect more from ourselves and meet people where they're at and be able to communicate between all of those different points, but also realize this isn't an overnight thing. Like personal development, you just said, oh, personal development is the goal. Guess what, bro? That's an ongoing fucking battle. And a decade from now, I bet you and I could look back at this podcast and be like, what the fuck were we talking about? We didn't even know we didn't know what the next 2 years were going to hold, you
Right.
know?
I have that conversation with we were talking earlier, like Bree was giving us shit because we can't book haircuts a week in advance. But that's part of it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I have an idea of where I want to go, and I know where my like let's shift the focus a little bit. Like we've been using the frame of powerlifting, but let's shift the focus. Like we're both in business, we're both trying to create careers.
Mm-hmm.
I have an idea of where I want to go, and I have some incentives that I'm motivated by, namely, like we want to start a family. So,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the decisions that I'm making with my business are geared around how can I set up my business so that I can keep doing the things that I love doing, but have a lot more freedom and flexibility to be a dad.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, but that's like a 2 year thing. What about when my kid's 18? Am I going to want the same type of career?
Mm-hmm.
Am I even going to still? I know I'll still be coaching because I fucking love coaching. I've always done it. But what is that going to look like? What is the industry of online coaching going to look like? What is the industry of continuing education going to look like? What is the industry of mentorship going to look like? I even look, I said actually almost 3 years ago to the day, I was like, I don't want to own a business. I just want to be a guy that coaches people. Now we have 6 coaches who work for us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I guess I have a business now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'm wondering for you, like, what are some of the incentives that you're pushing for? Because you've got a lot of irons in the fire. You're doing a lot of different things. Maybe can you elucidate a bit on what those things are and kind of how that fits into your long-term plan, if you have a long-term plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, honestly, it's similar to you. Like I don't know, and this is an ongoing conversation because obviously I want to spend the rest of my life with Briani, but we go back and forth on having kids, and it's like it's an idea that I would like to have. I feel like I would like to have children because I'm an only child, and I think about like leaving an impact and like leaving a legacy. It's a component of it. I'm an Irish Catholic guy, raised Irish Catholic. Like we're all about leaving a legacy and like
You
leaving
don't
a
use
lot.
birth control.
Nah, yep, counted it, dog. But but it's also like we live in weird times. I don't know how feasible it is for us to have children on the radar currently. I don't know how feasible it would be based on like a logical standpoint or an emotional standpoint, like 2 to 5 years. I really don't know. But
Mhm.
but in spite of that fact, like my long-term goals and long-term like ideas as to where I'd like to be are exactly the same as yours. It's like setting myself up and my family up for longevity and security and safety and comfort. And I am right there with you. Like I love the work I do. I love the stuff that I do, but I also want to be put into a position, or I would like to find myself in a position where I've built this platform that I can take this leap and be like, okay, now I don't have to, I've put the hours in, I've put the time in myself. Now it's sustaining, it's operating on its own, and I still have my own vision. I'm still guiding the ship, but I don't have to spend as much time building the ship. I don't have to work until my hands bleed, you know. It's like just I'd like to be able to enjoy things a little bit, and use more of that energy towards creating more stuff. And that's really my big goal with this, because like obviously I have my coaching, I have the consultation that I do. I've also kind of delved it, not as deeply as you have, but I've ran one mentor course. I plan to do more in the future. It's literally just I don't have time right now because I'm not at the point where I have this self-sustaining thing. It's me
Mhm.
beating the hammer. And Bree and I had a conversation like about like 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point, where she's like, you need to schedule yourself better because you've been working 14-hour days and it feels like we're roommates. And I was like, fuck, okay, got it, you know. So it's an ongoing, this whole personal development thing, it's an ongoing process. But in conjunction with like that stuff on like the individual side, I also am just trying to delve into like actual some product development stuff, where it's
Okay.
going to be regarding like biomechanics and just like the whole contrived cliche phrase of like human optimization, you know, because I helped develop the breath belt, which is still up and running. That's still going, and there's just going to be I have some ideas and things in the iron, in the fire, regarding similar principles and similar avenues, and I'm hopefully going to get those going here soon. And then in conjunction with that, there's some other stuff in terms of larger scopes, where because my goal, especially working with Jake and his company, Better Through Biology, it's not so much about changing powerlifting. It's not so much about like changing strength sports. Obviously, that's a part of it, but I want to have that second death of myself be put off for very long, because we're really trying to like change the landscape of sports performance, but also the integration of performance and health and wellness. And that's ideally, it's a big thing, obviously, and it costs a lot of money,
That's
but
yeah.
that's really the larger scope version of that goal, where like it would be to take Better Through Biology and my iteration of coaching and a couple of other things, and kind of like refine those into some form of continuing education, some form of actual like product, not product development, but serviceable product to be implemented in anywhere in the context that like sports performance or human optimization performance is spoken about, and implement it there. So it's a lot of in development stuff,
Hmm.
and I'm very busy right now, but it's exciting stuff, because it's like it's getting to the point where I've like talked about it earlier, like I've built the platform and it's going to get to jumping time here soon, and it's exciting. It's terrifying, dude, but it's a cool thing. It's a cool spot to be.
I think that fear is something like the fear is a drug. Like the fear of
Yep.
your back against the wall, knowing that the only person you can count on is yourself and your own effort. That level of um, urgency.
Hmm.
Oh, it's so addicting.
It's survival, dude. And I think that's the thing in my brain that is a little broken, because I can't get enough of that. It's like, why do you think I keep trying to break this same squat record over and over again? It's like every time I think, man, I wonder if my quad tendons rupture on the way down. That sure is going to be a fun fucking ride. But you know
Be
what?
quick, Ride.
Be quick. But I still do it because it's like if it doesn't happen, damn, that'll be so fucking cool, man. And it's the same thing in every goddamn aspect of my life. And it's I love it. I love it, but it's a hell of a ride, dude.
So what's popping into my head now? So when I was younger and when I had a very blank view of what my identity was, I would create that urgency through like really shitty decisions.
Hmm.
I remember it would be like, either pushing myself in training too much or taking a little bit more than I probably should take. Or I remember once to motivate myself, like I was just looking for that dopamine hit. So I bought a car I couldn't afford. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, time to work harder.
Yep.
And now I don't do that. I don't have that self-destructive way of creating urgency.
Hmm.
It's more of a creative way of creating urgency. Um, it seems like our paths are a little bit aligned in that regard.
Yep. Because you're describing obviously different situations, different people, but like I did very similar things. And it was always for that. It's the same lie that we all tell ourselves or have told ourselves at any point in our education, like whether it's somebody's in elementary school, high school, or college, or graduate studies or whatever. You always know that one person that is like, I work better under pressure. I'm going
Mhm.
to procrastinate because I always write better when I have like this really tight deadline, or I
So
work better, I think better, or whatever. That is that form of like it's putting yourself in a corner, even if this corner is self-created. It's and learning and personal development, I guess, is probably being able to identify, hey, I'm probably doing that thing. How can I reframe my perspective to allow me to achieve that like arousal state or like just way of thinking where I feel really good about what I'm doing, or
mhm.
feel really this is really focused on what I'm doing, by not just following some deadline or like spending erroneously and putting myself in like shitty situations. It's having the conversation with yourself and being, hey, this is the one life you got. This is the thing you were put here for. You better fucking do it, dude, because you got one shot, you know?
One shot, one opportunity, seize everything you ever wanted.
Mom spaghetti, mom spaghetti, mom spaghetti.
Um, I want to talk about balancing coaching and being an athlete because it seems like some people, and this is something I've always kind of rallied against because I think it's a fucking bullshit excuse.
Mhm.
You can be a good athlete and you can be a dedicated athlete, and it shouldn't come as a detriment to your coaching.
Agreed 1,000%. And I swear to God, we had this conversation at the Arnold, dude.
Yeah.
This when people implant their own personal limitations on others, it drives me fucking crazy because like I hate, like, obviously I think you and I both, we're probably both some forms of benevolent narcissist. We all love ourselves very much. We all think we're the shit. Like it's absolutely a fact because you and I both have podcasts and large social medias. We're set up to be narcissistic, but even inside of that fact, like I think, okay, I'm the exception to the rule. I'm a good coach and a good athlete and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Other people are too. There are other people out there that can absolutely succeed and excel at being an athlete and being a coach. And just because there are some people who aren't good at it or aren't ideal at it or have to prioritize one thing over the other at certain points in their life or whatever, it doesn't mean that that extends to everyone. It doesn't mean that that extends to you or me or whatever. And it's just, I share the same belief because not only because I've seen it in other athletes and coaches, it's because I've lived it. And all that you need to do to make that happen is become more familiar with yourself and understand what you, like me, what I need as an athlete, and then what I need not only as an athlete, but also to give me enough of like identity space to have this idea or expression of Joe over here, but then I orient my schedule and my allocation of energy and yada yada, all that other time management bullshit over here, so that I can also serve the people that pay me in the best way that I possibly can. Ultimately, it's a matter of not holding yourself to a higher standard, but just understanding that like you can have a hat on at this time and then take that hat off and do this over here, and it's fine. You just have to identify what's going to set you up for success over here, and what's going to set you up for success over here, and be an adult about it.
I think it comes down, like, I think everyone is capable of doing it, but I think a lot of people have a lot of limiting beliefs that hold them back. I'm thinking there's a number of coaches that pop into my head that, oh, like, can't do that. I'm traveling, I can't train, or
Mhm.
I got too many clients, I can't eat my meals properly. Like, bro, you're fucking sitting at home on your laptop. Why can't you eat your meals? Like,
Mhm.
um, so there's that piece, but I think it's also important to recognize that my endeavors as an athlete, and although like not a great athlete by any means, but it's something I prioritize and I'm trying to get better. It makes me a better coach. Being an athlete makes me a better coach. It gives me those opportunities for hardship that, incentivize my learning and my growth. It gives me the opportunity to uh, problem solve in real time. It also allows me to work with some great coaches. Like, you're working with Jake, he's helping you out. I recently, like about a year ago, I started working with Danny, and she's completely changed the
Mhm.
game for me. Um, if I just gave up, I don't think I'd be coaching anymore. If I
Mhm.
didn't have myself as like Paul as an athlete, I don't think Paul as a coach would exist.
Or he wouldn't be as good as he is.
Oh, definitely not.
And that's I literally, so I actually, I have two things I want to say, because well, I'll just say I'm so glad you're working with Danny, dude, because like Danny is like, I've known her since like I think like 2015,
Hmm.
from the Raw Unit, one of the Raw Unity meets.
Yeah, yeah.
To the I don't know, but like she is also the type of person, and I know that you know this because I'm sure you've had the conversations, but she's the type of person where she's had like specializations and focuses and like one lens, but she's another person who's like taken the step back and been like, okay, and this, these are all valuable. Let's see where we can apply it. Like her toolbox is extensive.
Huge.
It's awesome because I've seen like I saw that you said you were going to come back and do a meet, and I was like, I've got like old man Joe is like, fuck yeah, we're not dead, brother, let's keep it moving. but uh but uh but but absolutely, to your point, like Paul as an athlete is for sure supplementing and making Paul the coach better, because I like, from my perspective, I hit a total PR in 2023. The last time I hit a total PR was in 2017. That's a substantial amount of time. And all throughout that time, it's not as if like, oh, I'm just not going to hit a total PR now. I put my heart and soul into this,
Every
and I
day.
failed and failed and failed and failed and failed and failed. And I failed a bunch, and it hurt and broke my heart every time, man, because I care. I give a shit. I am, as much as I am just Joe Sullivan now. When I put the hat on, I
Hmm.
am Joe Sullivan powerlifter, and I want this shit, man. And experiencing that heartbreak and those failures over and over again, that's given me the opportunity, like you said, the adversity is opportunity, to understand what it means to fail, and what it means to fall short of your goals, and what it means to not achieve the thing that you think you've been put here to do. And being given that opportunity and experiencing that and feeling it again and again, that's let me understand what it means to be disappointed, what it means to hurt, what it means to fall short of your goals. And it's given me greater perspective to serve other people who are may not always experience those failures, but guess what, dude? The longer you do something, the more likely you are to lose and fail and fall short at some point. Just as much as we're all guaranteed to die, nobody on this planet is going to win forever. Not even like the best powerlifter in the world, like John Hack. He's untouchable right now. Like he incredible. I don't know if he's lost in a competition recently or whatever,
I don't
like
think
head to
so.
head. Yeah, but at some point, might not be for a decade, might not be for 2 decades. I don't know. But at some point, someone will beat him. We all lose. And
I was listening to a podcast with Dana White, and he was talking about his addiction to gambling.
mhm,
And he was like, bro, if you want to play the game, you're going to lose. You have to be okay with losing
yep.
because if you want to play, you're going to lose. And it was in the context of talking about John Jones. He's like, there is one John Jones. There's one guy who's never lost. Everyone else, they've lost. So
Mhm.
if you don't put yourself out there and are willing to lose, fuck, man.
Yeah,
And I mean,
exactly.
there's a huge element of ego associated with me wanting to get back on the platform.
Oh,
Huge. And
mhm.
I'm very well aware of it. But listen, man, fuck Jeremy Hamilton. I want that squat record.
Yes.
And I love Jeremy. I was the last meet that I was training for, I was training for in his gym because Liv and I were
Mhm.
dating.
Dude, because nobody fucking knows who Bree doesn't know who fucking Jeremy Hamilton is. Like
Are you serious?
I told her about this motherfucker like a couple of weeks ago. I pulled up the old goddamn YouTube videos that Omar Isuf made, and it's like people don't know who the fuck Jeremy is. That was like I looked at he was
Dude,
the 220 that I looked at because like Dan was like jacked. Dan Green was fucking jacked and muscular. I'm like short, fat white kid. I'm like fucking like Jeremy. He's jacked, he's huge, but he's like I can relate more to this guy. And I'm
milk and
like, this
cookies,
guy,
Jeremy Hamilton.
dude, yeah, milk and cookies, man, all the time. And it was Jeremy Hamilton's wife on IG. It wasn't Jeremy because he was like, fuck this shit.
It's still Jeremy Hamilton. Actually, I
I
think they deleted the Jeremy Hamilton's wife. I think they just have Fortis West.
Okay, I don't
But
know. I think I have no idea. I still follow it if it still exists, but either
he's
way, it doesn't matter.
Jeremy is one of those guys, like honestly, one of the kindest human beings ever. I've gotten to know him a little bit, not as much as I probably would. I actually would like because I think he's a really cool guy. But he and Crystal own Fortis West in Toronto, and they've run an amazing gym, amazing culture. And he was one of those guys when I was coming up. I remember when I hit my biggest total at 220, did my first 800. My last heavy session was at Fortis and trained with him because I was
Hmm.
in town for a work training thing when I was still working my corporate job.
Hmm.
And he was like just so kind, and he was like the elder statesman, right? He's like welcoming me into the crowd and like sent me a message after I did it. He was like, "Hey, welcome to the club." Like, and
Yeah.
I remember was dealing with some back stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna squat today." Goes in front squats 500 for 10. I'm like, "Oh, you're just gonna squat today after not squatting?"
Oh God.
Squatted 600 for 10 leading into a meet. I'm like, "This
And
is stupid."
and that's what I always loved about watching those old ass YouTube videos and like because he was the rep guy. He wasn't like I'm just gonna fucking hit a heavy single or a heavy set of three or whatever. He's like I'm gonna load it's heavy reps. And the fact that he was doing like back when like people didn't really do this or you didn't see it that often. But like Jeremy's banging out like 600 for 10, like sets of 12 on squats and deadlift and like it's just like who is this guy? And then like the front squat videos, it was just is nasty, man. It was always super fun to watch. So
He was
I
the first guy
love
to beat Dan, and he beat Dan
ex-
in Dan's house.
exactly at Boss of Bosses
I think
three,
so.
I think. Yeah. And it's like, dude, that shit was awesome. So it's like I love that you are going after his squat record because like that's super cool. Like I would be obviously it's like sad. I'm sure he'd be like, oh, he got beat, but it's
He wanted me to
always
do it. I mean,
yeah,
I hit
it's amazing.
832 in his gym, and
Yeah.
I ended up tearing my hamstring at the meet. But yeah, he's like, I want you to, if anyone's gonna take it, I want you to take it. I was like,
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna take it. It's just gonna take me 3 more years.
Oh, that's fucking cool, man. That's awesome.
Yes.
I love that.
Okay. I'm glad we got to chat about that. And honestly, I love reminiscing about old school powerlifting.
Same.
Like
It's so different.
it is
So different. Like, and I'm not mad about it. Like sports evolve and stuff, but it's
sports
just so.
evolve, it changes. The one thing I do really miss more than anything is the group environment. Like we
Mhm.
would all squat on Saturdays. We would all deadlift on Thursdays. We would all, like we had the days of the week that were for the lift. Like we might not all been doing the same thing, but we're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like the gym I train at now, have you ever heard of Roman Empire Fitness?
maybe. I
Bro,
think
this gym
so.
has 12 combo racks.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And there's one person in each one. And they
And
don't
that's,
share.
yep,
And no one, like, yeah, they'll spot each other. And like I usually train in the morning and no one's there. So I'm kind of by myself. But it's just weird that everyone wants to be by themselves and no one wants to be friends. It's like,
yeah.
hey, this rack adjusts.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And so like I'm laughing because Brianni is sitting across from me, like just working, but she's nodding her head because and don't get me wrong, like we still have like these little pockets at Fight or Quit because
Mhm.
it's like me, Bree Hunter, and like recently, like Justin Calkin, a guy who just moved here, like Micah, Mark, Tanner, like just got guys in this in that are really like working in, but it's more so the monoliths, like the untested side of things. Because like Fight or Quit has how many combos? 12. They have 12 also. But like we literally joke about this because like the girls will get done squatting and then they're going to bench and there's no open benches, but like this guy's squatting two reds, this guy's squatting two reds and a green, this girl's squatting a red and a yellow, this guy's squatting two reds and a blue.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, like you be using three combos and it would open up all this space and then we would all be having conversations and like
Hmm.
talking to one another. It's like it is very interesting to see like how, because it's always been an individual like ego driven pursuit, absolutely. But it's weird to see how far it's gotten from having that like group mentality, having like the crew aspect. And I mean, honestly, that's one of the reasons that I think I'm like the most blessed dude on the planet right now, is because my training partners are both 100, like 165, 181 females, but it's my fucking crew. And like we
Well, they're
always
also all-time world record holders, both of
yeah,
them.
yes, absolutely. They're literally the strongest women on the planet. But it's like the fact that like we're all doing the same stuff or similar stuff like 90% of the year, like not right now because they're in meet prep and like I don't like training when they train because I either get yelled at or feel like I should yell at myself because I'm not focused enough. But we're training together, like doing the same thing. And it's like you go, I go, she goes, you go, I go, she goes, you go, I go, she goes. You do this many reps on this, even on like the bodybuilder days, because we train at Dragon's Lair
Mhm.
sometimes as well. Like you do this many reps on the pro squat, I'll do this many. You do this many. Like we push each other, and I'm incredibly fortunate to have that like just an echo of the crew feeling like the training
Mhm.
partners because I look back at like the old Animal Underground videos, what I have to imagine like Fortis was back in the day, what I have to imagine like you're describing Elite FTS, like all of that. There's just something about having this like individual ego driven pursuit, but then being surrounded by the same type of people who are doing the same type of thing and they're driven by that same egotistical, like prideful pursuit as you are, and you all want to win. It pushes you and it not motivates you, but it's like we're the like-minded individuals, like we're chasing this. Let's get it.
There's two things that jump out to me here. The first is like you say you're grateful for your situation now, which is amazing. When I was competing at the highest level, my training partners were Jay Nira, who was the number one 220 in the world at one point,
Mhm.
Cade Weber, who was the number one 242 in the world. And,
Two
oh,
two names that people probably don't
no
know,
one knows who they are. And Willie
and
Albert,
legends.
Willie Albert, who is the number one 181 in the world.
Mhm.
And so these are guys, and where I'm going with this is these are guys who showed me what was possible. I think the last real serious question I'm going to ask, because I'm going to ask you some bullshit ones in a second. When you're shooting for an all-time world record, no one's ever done it. How do you know it's possible?
That's the fun part, brother. Because that's another little aspect of the part of my brain, Bree's brain, your brain, Hunter's brain. that it's this borderline psychopathic self-belief where it borders on delusion, where it's like no one's ever done it. How can this be possible? But for some reason, if anybody can do it, I fucking can. Duh,
Hmm.
I'm me. It's self-belief to the highest order, where it borders on delusion, it borders on just ludicrousness. But I like for instance, when I broke the 220 squat record for the first time, Amit Sapir held it. Amit Sapir broke the record. And exactly. And that's we're experiencing that now on the female side of things, like some of the squats that got passed out of a meet relatively recently. It's you see a squat pass that isn't up to your personal standard or what a lot of people believe should be the standard of the sport.
Hmm.
And I made it a goal to be like, I don't have anything against this guy, but a different name, a different name needs to be on that board. And if anybody's gonna fucking do it, it's gonna be me.
Hmm.
And I don't know why I made it to that point. I don't know why I believed so wholeheartedly that that was what I could do, but I did. And that self-belief pushed me through certain periods where like it wasn't fun. It was hard. It hurt. It hurt me physically. It hurt me emotionally. It hurt me mentally. But that self-belief, that's one of the it's part of the equation that pushed me forward and more and more and more to do the thing that I believed that I could do. And I know I'm certain that that's the same for Briani, for Hunter, because I've had these conversations with them. And that's another reason that I'm so fortunate for this situation is because it's not only about being pushed in the gym, it's being pushed beyond what you believe capable, and you see what's capable through, or see not see what's capable, you see what's possible through the lens of another person, and you're given these like inklings and these little gleanings of information where it's like, wow, that's what she's doing, that's what he's doing, that's how they think, that's how they believe, that's how they breathe, that's how they operate every single day. And that's put them in this position, that's allowed them to achieve these things and go beyond what they thought was possible. If they can do it, I can too. And it's
Hmm.
having that ability to not just think and see and marvel and be like, wow, that's amazing, I can't believe that someone can do that. It's having that little thing in your brain where it's like, if they can do it, why can't I?
Hmm.
And that's one of the most powerful positions or perspectives anyone can have, because I'm very strong, like I'm good at squatting, but like someone looks at me and says like, man, I can't imagine doing that, and it's like, well, you can't imagine doing that, that's probably why you won't do it. But if I talk to somebody and be like, man, I want to squat 800 one day, man, I want to do this, man, I want to beat your record one day, it's like, good, go out and fucking do it, dude. Do you think you can? Yeah, I think I do. Go fucking get it done then, bro. That would be fucking awesome to see. Nobody wants to see the record broken, but it's like, I want to see that limit of human performance. We're nowhere near the top end.
Nowhere.
Mm-mm.
Nowhere. And it's so fucking cool, man. Um,
Exactly.
so funny story. In university, we're in I forget what the class was called, but it was essentially like how to be a gym teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about goal setting, and I wasn't paying attention at all. And the teacher called me out. She was like, "Paul, what's a goal that you've set for yourself?" And I was like, And she's like, "What's a goal that you've set for yourself?" I'm like, I'm gonna squat 800 pounds. And I just threw it out there, and everyone laughed.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "You want to squat 800 pounds?" And at this point, I was still playing college basketball. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
just still was training, but I wasn't powerlifting. And she's like, "Okay, you call me when you do." And so I did.
That's awesome.
She was like, "No fucking way." I'm like, "You just swore, teacher."
That's so awesome, dude. But
Um,
that's one of the most fun, and it's obviously it's not a driving motivator, but like
no.
there's absolutely an aspect of like spite
Oh,
here
100%.
in me too. Like I know that like talking about stubbornness, like you're the same way, I'm sure. It's like sometimes it's just like I'm in too fucking deep. I'm gonna punch the ticket and we're gonna see where the fuck this shit goes. God damn it.
Oh, I've done it, man. I remember tearing my quad 4 weeks out from a meet, and I'm like, no, I'm just registered. I'm still going to do it. Tore it
Exactly.
again. Tore it again. It's like, man,
Yep.
whatever.
Yep. Exactly, dude. It's like sometimes you have to see where the road goes, even if like you're walking it and it's like, man, it's getting hot. It's like, may as well. I've come this far.
Getting hot because there's a fucking flaming pile of tires over there.
Yep. But it's like, what's a little more? We'll see. Let's keep going.
Exactly. All right. I like to finish my podcast with a couple stupid questions. So
Mhm.
strap in.
Stupid answers.
Eh, yeah, probably. What
Okay.
is the coolest lift you've ever seen?
Scene.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Where you were like, holy shit.
Oh, dude. Honestly, it's like Breeze across the table flipping her hair. But so, man, okay. So obviously, I have to say, and I'm not just saying it because she's across from me, but like the entire experience of the American Pro 2 leading up
Mm.
to Briani pulling the heaviest deadlift ever done raw by a female, like that was just insane. Like, and it's like that had to have been the coolest because like I know what all went into it. It was
You were
12
part of it.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 12 weeks after she won her IFBB Pro card. People were like, there's no way that she could do this. I literally heard like a part of this plan being the nexus of creation of this plan, where it's like, this is the only feasible way that we can get it done. And even then, it's like, I don't even know. But during the whole thing, I'm like, I don't fucking know. I don't know. Maybe we can do it. I think we can do it. We should be able to do it, but it's going to be like the most precise thing ever. And if there's any deviation whatsoever, you could either like get hurt yourself, like in terms of like bodily health, like internal health,
Mm.
or it's just not going to fucking work. And she did it. And like even leading like on that day, like I had Justin Zottel, Patrick McGuire, Austin Hudson, Byler, Azariah Pierce, all those guys in the pro day, and they all kicked ass. Like it was just this big emotional peak of a day that was just all the way up here the whole goddamn day, and then culminating with the deadlift battle between Bree, Denise Herber, and Sam Rice, and me being in the back involved with it, jockeying for position between myself and Nico Herbert, Denise's husband. And then finally, they try to do something that they thought was allowed in the rule book, but me being like, no, fucking do that, have this like whole jockeying, like orientation thing and be like, nope, run. And I had to run and get a ref and grab the person who wrote the rule book and be like, confirm for me that this is it. And she's like, it's confirmed. And then I'm like, fucking, oh my God, I got to get to the platform. And then they finally load the bar. And then Bree does it. I literally told her the other day, I didn't yell during that lift. Normally I'm like fucking yeah, woo. I was already emotionally spent by the time that it got to that point. And I literally just watched her do it. And she did it. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, did she do it? I think she got it. I think that was clean. And I'm like
Mm.
looking at the lights and it goes white. And I'm just like, fuck. And just lose my mind. And everybody loses their mind. And like that whole experience was amazing. It was so fucking cool. It was so crazy. I don't know that we're ever going to be able to recreate it because it's like this is shit that I think about with the whole second death conversation because we have high def HD video footage of her hitting that, crying, being hugged by me, Hunter, Jake, and then the VIP fucking table has my parents and her parents, and then the HD footage pans to show us run over and hug her parents, my parents, everybody's crying. And I'm like, the thing about it is I think about it, I'm like, fuck, this is shit that we're gonna watch, or I'm gonna show my kids when my dad's dead, or when my mom's dead, or when we're all dead. This is shit that people could watch and like continue on that memory. And that
Mm.
shit is like insane to me. So that's the coolest fucking thing.
I love how
That
fired up you
that
are right
has
now.
to be it because there's so many layers to that one, and it's like obviously it's like Bree doing the fucking hair flip. I'm like, ooh, I'm the bad bitch. Fucking, I got the thing, and it's like, yeah, that's it. But all of those layers on top of that has to be the answer. And then just like crazy cool stuff, I'd have to think of like Dave Tate loading, like because I used to train at Elite FTS and work at Elite FTS, and him just loading the insane amount of plates with the reverse bands and like looking like he's gonna die and then hitting it for a triple or some stupid shit like that. So
To a high box with like 10 chains.
exactly, and
I
it's
love
like
it.
there's no reason to do this, but it's like why not?
Yeah, with
So
one with like half the hip.
exactly.
Do you crack an egg on the side of the pan or on a flat surface?
I've done both side of the pan because it works better, but Brie gets mad because I get egg shit everywhere. So I do side of the pan, but I know it's wrong, but I don't care. What do you do?
Flat surface.
You fucking piece of shit. You've been broken.
Oh, dude, there are battles that you just don't want to. There, you pick your battles in marriage.
I agree, but then there are some where you just fucking dig your heels in. It's like, no, I refuse to change. I will not do this. Like, what's another one? Her fucking thing. She doesn't screw goddamn lids on all the way. And it makes me want to fucking kill her. Yeah, yeah, crazy eyes over here. This is like where it's like domestic violence might be okay because the one day I pick up a fucking thing of sauerkraut and I pick it out of the fridge and it falls and then explodes and sprays all over me in the kitchen and I'm like, I should kill everybody in this house.
You should generally carry things by their lids anyway.
Just put the fucking lid on. It would solve the problem. It would solve the problem.
I don't want to have to delete this podcast because domestic violence occurred. So let's just
Okay,
we'll,
fine.
we're moving on.
I forget that he's in Canada, so like he'll have the
No,
fucking
I'm
mount.
still in Texas, so I think it's
Oh
legal in
shit. Okay.
Texas.
My bad. I thought you're originally in Florida. No, he's not in Florida. He's not in Florida.
I'm in Texas until the 12th, and then we're going back home.
Texas until the 12th. So there you go. Okay, you're safe for now.
Well, you're safe for now.
Yeah, true. But
Fuck, that just reminded me of something. What's something that you do sometimes, and it's a habit that you have, but you know it's kind of bitchy? For an example would be if you burn your hand and you go, it's kind of bitchy.
okay. I thought we were be like
Like,
obviously that's still being a bitch. So I can't have like the water too hot in the shower, or else I'm like I literally do the thing where I'm like, and I'm
yeah,
like,
that's a bitch.
I know, and it's like it's just awful, dude. It's
And
too hot.
another example of something that's bitch, but you don't think you have to do it is like putting on chapstick.
Okay,
He can't put on chapstick.
I can't put on chapstick. I will do that. So for everyone enjoying the video medium of this podcast, this is for you. I don't understand how to put chapstick on when
Rub your lips together.
I can't rub my lips together. Like Brie does the thing, and I'm sure like you've seen this where it's like you put the no, okay. See, he did it in a different way. I can't do that either. Fuck. I apparently I don't have like very good independent control of my mouth.
Sorry, Brie.
But I'm because he did it side to side. I can't do it.
Either way, you can't do it.
But she does the thing where it's like over top of where it's like I
Yeah,
can't
it's just not
I don't
natural for me.
no, I don't understand. I don't understand the mechanism behind it. I don't think I don't know. So
Okay, the last
mm,
question, and this is where I get you to do my job for me. Keeping in mind that mostly the podcast is geared towards coaches, who's one person that you would like for me to interview on the podcast? The caveat is that you have to help me get them on my podcast.
I mean, obvious answer is Jake,
Okay.
but I would do that. It's like I can barely get a hold of the motherfucker. But obvious answer is Jake. I'd probably say Jake, but I'm trying to think of like a weird one
Who's
that would
second
be
string?
I don't know because like Bree's also a great coach, but like I know she shares a lot of my perspectives with this stuff. So it's like I'd be like Jake Breedy, but then it's like I'm thinking more of like getting like networking at like I don't know, like in terms of conversational communicative ability, that it would potentially help people broaden their scope and their
Mm,
horizons. I would say, and this is funny because he was just on Elite FDS, but David Weck.
okay.
Do you know Weck?
Everybody knows whack.
Okay. So that's why I think he would be good to be on your podcast, because I love hearing the man talk and
He
be asked
is
questions.
bat shit crazy.
Crazy, crazy. Absolutely. He's a psychopath. And he's also one of the smartest people that I know. It the no, brother, it's the fuck, it's how do you do it? It's the
The
core
video
thing.
where he told you to go fist yourself
Oh
killed
yeah,
me.
I know. I know. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. And it's like I love the guy. He loves me. Like we have great fucking conversations. He's the type of guy where like last week I was getting like gas in my truck before we went to the gym, and he called me and we just talked for like 30 minutes because he's just like, "Hey, I have an idea." And just screaming into the phone.
Yeah.
And then it's like, "Okay, I got to go by." And it's like,
Okay, bye,
"What
David Weck.
just happened?" And it's like that was the creator of the Bosu ball on my phone, and I'm talking to him about like ideas for movement, and it's like, what the fuck just happened to me? It's
I
like
would, dude, I
he's
would totally interview David Weck. I sat on the same panel with him at Swiss.
okay, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Dude, he's a trip. I love talking to the guy, and I'm sure like you were on that panel, you heard him answer
Mhm.
questions. It's like he's so out there, but like I swear the guy has just like, whether it was via things that he did in his past or perspectives that he gained from that or from like overcoming that,
Mhm.
for some reason he has this amazing ability to like just like we're talking about taking a step back and looking at things from a different lens. It's not just taking a step back for him. He like steps out so far that he can see like the fucking galaxies and the dimensions and stuff, and it's like Dave is just, he's so out there. But
I
when you
want
get him,
whatever he's on, man.
dude, I know. It's like I don't know how the dude has that much energy, because it's like I see him so revved up like he is all the time. And like we went and visited him when we went to San Diego for a concert, and like just hung out and just talked to him. And it's like you can have a conversation with him for like a couple hours, and it's like the dude is the same speed, the same level of 100 all the time. Like dial is always cranked,
He's
and it's
probably
like
on the
he's
same cocktail as Joe Biden.
yeah, sustaining fucking life, but a little beyond, like maybe with a fucking Adderall thrown in there or something. But I don't know. I love it.
Dude, thank you so much for sharing time with me. It was an absolute pleasure. I will have links to everywhere people can find you in the show notes because I'm going to
Perfect.
email you and get them from you.
Perfect.
Um, is there any parting thoughts that you would love to have for the audience?
I just appreciate the conversation, dude. I really enjoyed talking on this one. And honestly, like thank you for saying what you said about the second death thing, because that probably made my week just hearing someone else say that, you know. So
My
thank
pleasure,
you,
man.
because
My
that was
pleasure.
really cool.
Thank you everyone for listening. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And we'll catch you on the next one.